Hello, Slicey Dicers. This is Brian with another knife review for you. Today we have the Gerber Sedulo. I don't review many Gerbers on here, but I am going to be reviewing more because they are definitely making an effort to appeal more to this kind of enthusiast sort of market that's more my wheelhouse, and this is one of their latest examples of that. Do I think it was a good effort into this market? We'll talk a lot more about that as this goes on. But this is $100 S30V blade. FRN handles. This is the black with the stonewash. There's also a gray with the stonewash for 100. For 105, they have black oxide coated blades in either what they call an urban blue, which is kind of like a blue jean blue, or just fully blacked out. Yeah, $100 S30V FRN handles, right dead on the same price you're going to get for a Benchmade grip tilling in the same sort of configuration. So with FRN handles and S30V blades, so it's pretty clear who they're aiming at. It has the same lock as the Benchmade because now the Axis lock, there's no longer a patent on it. Anyone can use it. Very similar dimensions to the grip tilling. Unfortunately, I do not have a full-size grip tilling here to compare it to. I wish I did. You'll see in the size comparisons, I brought a Super Freak, which is the full-size Benchmade Freak, which is pretty much the same size. So you'll see as we get to that. But the design, I'm going to say, is not a copy of it at all. Is it a particularly original-looking design? No, I wouldn't say that. It's not like it's a copy of anything. It's just not very imaginative. If I had to put it, it's derivative. If I have to be a snob and put a word to it. But it looks fine. There's nothing really horribly offensive about the overall look of it, except for maybe a lot of people aren't going to like the big Gerber on the clip. That kind of stuff doesn't usually bother me, but I know a lot of my viewers, you guys really hate stuff like this, and there is quite a significant amount of billboarding on the clip side, if you're right-handed anyway. Yeah, there's a whole lot of writing on there, but the show side looks really nice. I like just a little Gerber logo. I have no problem with that. But I'm going to do this review a little different. I'm going to review this as normal. I'm going to say off the jump, this is going to be a very negative review. We're going to touch on some of the negatives as we go on through this normal part of the review, but really I'm going to pile a lot of them on at the end. So just to let you know about that right off the bat. So let's do some specs and size comparisons. This is very typical EDC size. You have a blade length of 3.4 inches, overall length of 8 inches, blade thickness of 0.12 inches, handle thickness pretty thick though at 0.6 inches, but again, grip tillings and stuff have very thick handles like that as well, and a weight of 3.6 ounces. So it's a little above that ounce per inch, but pretty darn close to it. Now, size comparisons. We'll start off with some Spydercos. We have the Manix 2. So you see, again, very similar size to the Manix 2. Bring out the Para 3, a little bit larger than that. And then, like I said, for the Benchmade, I went with the Super Freak because that's the closest I have in size to a grip tilling at the moment. Just a little bit smaller than that, and I do believe the Super Freak is a little bit larger than the grip tilling. So it's going to be pretty darn close in size to the grip tilling. And then your full-size bug out, just a little bit larger than a full-size bug out in overall length anyway. And then lastly, I'm going to bring out another kind of similar knife that we're going to talk about here at the end too, and not that much more expensive. We have the Hogue Deca, just a little bit bigger than the Deca. So let's talk about the blade on this thing. S30V steel, that's a nice thing. Gerber has been using that a fair bit. I think it's an okay steel at this price range. It's not a mind-blowingly good steel at this price range like it used to be. Probably only 2 years ago. We'd have been really excited for $100 S30V, woo! But now that's kind of just, it's all right. It's 28 thousandths behind the edge. I just got to get there. I was going to compliment the nice drop point, but it's 28 thousandths behind the edge, guys. It's 2021. That's not a thing anymore. It just isn't a thing anymore. When you have so many companies come out with really slicey thin behind the edge. I know some people are going to say, oh, for work use, you want a little thicker behind the edge. Okay, yeah, that's fine, but 28 thousandths behind the edge for what is ostensibly an EDC knife. This is not meant to be a really hardcore, heavy-duty work knife. Maybe that's what Gerber intends it to be, but an Axis lock is not the kind of thing I pick for that. I don't like the 28 thousandths behind the edge. I will say Another reviewer whose name rhymes with Fikmabaz is his had a really uneven grind. My grind's pretty even. I will say that. I have no problems there. It is sharp. It's 20,000 units, and it has, I don't know if it's going to come across on camera or not. I had to put it against a straight edge to be sure, but there is some unintentional recurve in it. That's not impressive. It's very little. It'll probably disappear in 2 or 3 sharpenings, but still not impressive. Really nice sharpening trail, though. I will say that. You can remove the thumb studs. You want to get those out of the way, you know, when you're sharpening it, which you're probably going to want it to get rid of that recurve or to even up the grind if you got one like Nick did. Yeah, it's not impressive. And the blade stock is, 0.12 is pretty average. It's not even that super thin a blade stock. The blade is not terribly impressive. It's not horrible, but it's not terribly impressive. Ergonomics, it's kind of the same story. You have these FRN handles, which just feel cheap. We'll talk more about that at the end here. But the shape fits my hand really well. The pocket clip, not a big deal. You can feel it, but it's not a big deal at all. The jimping they put on the liners, which is fine. A lot of places do that, but very thin liners, you have to be really careful with how aggressive you make the jimping. And aggressive little tiny jimps on really thin liners are not horribly comfortable if you're not wearing gloves. Not a fan of, up here I can kind of deal with it, but this little bit, that is just flat out uncomfortable. And the texture on this FRN is it's way too aggressive, in my opinion. Way too aggressive. If you're not wearing gloves, it's just very, it ain't going anywhere, but it just feels really, scratchy. I guess if I have to put a word to it, I can't really figure out how else to describe it. It's just scratchy. Not like hot spots or anything. It's just rough. How does it carry? It actually does carry pretty good. They did do one cool thing on this. This is a completely ambidextrous knife, right hand, left hand carry. 8mm screws on the pocket clip, which is kind of interesting. On this side, there is a flat part. Remember I said how this is really aggressive texturing. It still slides in on the pocket well because on this side, they put some flat in the middle of the texture section, which is great. I wish more companies did that. Spyderco does it. I don't know why everyone doesn't do it. I'm very glad they did that, but they only did it on this side. They didn't do it. So if you're a lefty, it's a pocket destroyer. If you're a righty, it carries fine. It is pretty thick, but not the end of the world. Nice deep carry pocket clip. And again, I don't mind the Gerber logo, but some people aren't going to like that. But if somebody sees Gerber and they know anything, they probably think it's a multi-tool, because Gerber, that's mostly what they're known for nowadays. But yeah, and then when your hand slides past it, again, you can feel that jimping. It's not horrible, but yeah, it carries fine, but it's not like mind-blowingly good. And if you're a lefty, RIP your jeans. So I don't know why they didn't put it over here. They could have done like Spyderco does and put a little, Gerber logo on there, and it would look cool. It would look fine. I assume they chose not to for aesthetic reasons, but because these are clearly injection molded, which we'll get to that in a moment. But you can just put another logo here. It's not going to cost anything extra. Don't know why they didn't, but such as it is. Action on it. The action on it is actually superb. They did a really, really good job. I will give them credit for that. It is a derivative of the axis lock. I don't know what they call it, but it is super drop shutty. The centering winds up pretty good. I did have to loosen it up like a quarter turn, but centering's still good, and it drops like that. I have no issues at all with the action on it. Action on it is just as good as a Griptilian. But in conclusion, that is the only way this is as good as a Griptilian. And I don't like the standard Benchmade Griptilian much. A lot of people are calling this or asking the question. I guess nobody really called it that yet because it's too new, but we're asking the question, is this a Griptilian killer? No, this has managed to do something that, for me, a guy who does not care much for the FRN-based Griptilian, that I did not think was possible, this has made the Griptilian look like a really good value. This FRN on here is just, it's just garbage. I don't know how else to put it. I'm normally not this negative with stuff, but I mean, look at where it came out of the mold. There are these two little tabs stick up. I have sanded these down because out of the box, they were like scratchy. I was worried I was going to get a scratch on my hand from them. So I've sanded these down a little bit. And they still look like that. It looks cheap. It feels cheap. I'm normally an FRN apologist. A lot of people say, I will not accept FRN for X number of dollars. I've never been that guy. I've had some FRN that I really, really liked. This is not it. It makes the whole knife just feel really, really cheap. I mean, it has S30V steel, has a really nice action. I know they put a lot of effort into. It feels like a $30 knife, honestly, if that. This is just cheap and terrible. And it kind of just ruins the whole rest of the knife for me. If the blade was great, if I could say, oh, it has an amazing blade, I might temper my criticism of the FRN a little bit, but it doesn't. The blade is mediocre, and the FRN is terrible, and it just, again, it feels like $30. I don't own this one anymore. I sold it at a loss because I bought this full retail because I wanted to get it. I mean, they do some customization options. That's kind of cool, I guess. I'm just trying to find nice things to say. You can go on there and you can switch the colors of the handles and blah, but it's very limited. It's not like the Benchmade custom shop or anything, but you can do a few changes to it. That's nice, I guess. But I want Gerber to do well. It's not like I hate Gerber. It's just, yeah, like they're flattering. I gave a fairly positive review too when a lot of people weren't, but this is just, no. Yeah, I feel bad. I want them to do well, American-made company. And I'm usually willing to accept a few things because it's American-made, and I know having stuff made in the U.S. is more expensive. So I'm willing to accept some stuff, but this is just a material choice that was just terrible. It didn't have to be G10 because, like, the Griptilian isn't, and they sell as many of those as they can make. Just better FRN. There is better FRN out there than this crap. So hope you guys have enjoyed this. I don't enjoy making reviews like this, but here we have it. I've been Brian. Have a good one.